Hi guys, this is IGCSE O-Level Chemistry, paper 22, March 2016, question 1. Two gas jars are set up as shown. So, okay, there's a lid between the two gas jars. There's a brown gas in jar 2 and air in jar 1. The lid is removed and the gas jars are left to stand. After some time, the contents of both gas jars are brown. Okay, which process causes this to happen? So, the brown gas traveled from jar 2 into jar 1. So, this is diffusion, because it is a movement of the brown gas from a higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. So the process is called condensation, no. Diffusion, yes. Evaporation, no. Filtration, no. So this makes option B the correct option for this question. Question 2. Which piece of apparatus is used to measure variable quantities of liquid in a titration? So we need to measure variable quantities of a liquid. Option A is not used to measure quantities at all. It's a conical flask. Option D is used to measure fixed volumes in a titration. We are left with options B and C. Option B is a measuring cylinder, which is not used to measure accurate volumes, just approximate volumes. And C is a burette, which is used to measure accurate volumes but variable. So option C is the correct option for this question. Question 3. A sample of a green food coloring was separated into its component colors using paper chromatography. The result obtained are shown. So we have a blue spot and a yellow spot, and we have a solvent front and a baseline. Okay. What is the RF value of the blue spot? So first thing, RF value is the distance traveled by the solute upon distance traveled by the solvent. So the maximum RF value would be the distance traveled by the solvent, which would be equal to 1. So options C and D get eliminated because they are values greater than 1, which is not possible. So now we are left with options A and B. So blue travels half the distance of the paper. So its RF value should be close to 0.5. So the options are 0.45 and 0.9. So 0.9 is the distance traveled by the yellow spot, and 0.45 is the distance traveled by the blue spot. And the question is, what is the RF value of the blue spot? So the answer is 0.45, making option A the correct option for this question. Question 4. In which row are substances correctly classified? An element. A brass is an alloy. It is a mixture. Sulfur is an element. Sulfur is an element. Water is a compound. So this eliminates options A and D. So now a compound. Brass is a mixture, not a compound. Water is a compound. So this eliminates option B. And a mixture is brass, making option C the correct option for this question. Question 5. Which molecule contains only single covalent bonds? So a molecule of chlorine has a single covalent bond between two chlorine atoms. For CO2, we have a C double bond O on either side. For nitrogen, we've got two nitrogen atoms with a triple bond between them. And for oxygen, we've got two oxygen atoms with a double bond between them. So the only molecule with a single covalent bond present is the molecule of chlorine, making option A the correct option for this question. Question 6. Which structure represents sodium chloride lattice? So in structure A, sodium has a negative charge and chlorine has a positive charge. So this is 100% incorrect. In structure B, the smaller size ion has a positive charge and the larger size ion has a negative charge, which is true for sodium chloride. The exact opposite is seen in structure C, making it incorrect. And in structure D, we've got various negative charges surrounding an array of positive charges. So this is not the structure of NaCl. In fact, it is a structure and not even properly assembled structure of a metal. So this is incorrect as well. So this makes option B the correct option for this question. Question 7. X and Y are isotopes of the same element. Which statement is correct? X and Y have atoms with different number of electron shells. No, they have the same number of electron shells. X and Y have atoms with the same nucleon number. No, that is a number that will be different because the number of neutrons are different in isotopes. X and Y have atoms with the same number of outer shell electrons. Yes, they have the same number of outer shell electrons because they are the same element. X and Y have different chemical properties. No, isotopes have the same chemical properties because they have the same number of outer shell electrons. So this makes option C the correct option for this question. Question 8. Which quantities of chemicals will react exactly with no reactants left over? So 12 grams of carbon, that is 1 mole, reacting with 12 grams of oxygen. So 1 mole of carbon, if it reacts with 1 mole of oxygen, it would produce CO2. So that would be, if 12 reacts, then it would react with 32 grams of oxygen. And since the amount of oxygen is limited, that means the amount of carbon will be left behind. So A is incorrect. For B, we've got 12 grams of carbon reacting with 48 grams of oxygen. So again, we've got the same equation, but 12 and 48. Now the amount of oxygen is in excess because the amount needed to react was 32. So 48 is in excess. So here oxygen will be left behind. So this is incorrect. So 12 is not supposed to react with 48. It's supposed to react with 32. For C, we've got magnesium, 12 grams of magnesium. And we've got 16 grams of oxygen. So this would form MgO. So 12 would react with 16. So magnesium has to be 24 in order for it to react with 16 grams. So 12 grams of magnesium would result in 16 grams of oxygen being in excess. So oxygen would be left behind in this case as well. In the last case, we've got magnesium reacting with oxygen to produce MgO. So 24 grams of magnesium would react with 16 grams of oxygen. So in this case, all of the reactants would be used up. So, and nothing would be left over. So this makes option D the correct option for this question. Question 9. Magnesium nitride is formed when magnesium burns in air. Magnesium nitride is an ionic compound. What is the formula of magnesium nitride? So the magnesium ion has a 2 positive charge and the nitride ion has a 3 negative charge. So we would have 3 present for magnesium and 2 present for nitride. So this would form Mg3N2. Since this is the formula of magnesium nitride, this makes option D the correct option for this question. Question 10. The electrolysis of concentrated hydrochloric acid is shown. And we have collection of hydrogen gas and collection of chlorine gas. Hydrogen will be collected at the cathode and chlorine will be collected at the anode. Which statement describes what happens to the electrons during the electrolysis? They are added to chlorine ions. No, they are removed from chlorine ions. They are added to hydrogen ions. Yes, reduction takes place at the cathode. So you have 2H positive plus 2 electrons giving you hydrogen gas. So this is correct. They move through the circuit from the positive to the negative. Electrons will move from the circuit from the positive to the battery and from the battery towards the negative terminal, not directly from positive to negative. They move through the solution from the negative to positive. They don't move through the solution at all. Therefore, the correct option for this question is option B.